Now, a couple of days ago, I reported to you guys a story about how AOC was going to be on the Joe Biden Bernie Sanders task force, the climate change one, and that basically, I guess one of the agreements that the Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders had come to was, hey, if you drop out and endorse me, we'll have these task forces. I don't know if that was directly part of the agreement or if it's just what ended up happening. Either way, that's what's going on right now. Task forces are kind of, interesting, I'll use right now as the term, but it's just basically let's bring together these two sides of the argument and I guess, I don't know, duke it out or something. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. It doesn't really seem to accomplish much to me, but some mixed reactions, but I think most people seem to be kind of saying, hey, this doesn't really seem to result in anything. I am firmly of the belief that I think that these are more performative theater than anything else. I think it's honestly more of a circus or a clown show that you have, like Joe Biden's campaign. It's like, yeah, we're having a task force to really, hammer out the details. And AOC is going to be on one side and John Kerry on the other. And it's like, I don't understand why he wouldn't just adopt the positions that they would want. Why does there have to be a task force? And it's like, what is the, assurance that I have that they'll even take any of these positions in the first place? Like, that they'll accept any of this? Why would they accept any of these positions, So, Kyle Kulinski sent out this tweet saying it's inconvenient and demoralizing, but it's true. You're either for Medicare for all or you're not. You're for free college or you're not. You're for UBI or you're not. You're for ending war or you're not. You don't need a task force. It's a show to placate the left. Now, this is a sentiment that is held by many progressives, including myself. But Cenk Uygur of TYT seems to have a different take. He says, I hear you, but I disagree. It's incumbent upon the progressives on the task force to hold the rest accountable. They don't because they want to be polite, which happens way too often, then it'll be a failure, but give them a chance to come up with something first. Now, the thing that I don't really agree with this tweet on is kind of, to me, it's like, what power do those people really have? So it's incumbent upon the progressives on the task force to hold them accountable, but it's like, in what means can they do that? It's not like they're the ones in power here. They're the ones with virtually zero leverage. They're the ones with virtually no leverage or power. They're the ones who are at the bottom rung in this scenario, in this situation. So what on earth makes you think that they'll be able to do anything that's incumbent upon them? If you're AOC and you're arguing with someone who's a centrist, they're just going to be like, no, we don't believe in that. That's not our beliefs. And then you're talking about these sort of measly alterations of like, hey, we're gonna expand Medicare access to people who are 60 instead of 65. Like, do you know how much of a joke that kind of a change is in the legislation and how easily that'll just be walked back in a Republican administration? It's a complete joke. Okay, that's what they're fighting to secure right now. They're not fighting to secure Medicare for all because they can't. What they're fighting to convince them of now is like, hey, just lower the Medicare eligibility age by like 5 or 10 years, which is so embarrassing, and it's honestly insulting, and it's quite embarrassing and degrading, to be honest with you. And that's another reason why I think these task forces are jokes. Performative theater, but quite an insulting one. Kyle Kulinski responds to Cenk's tweet by saying, the task force is just like the obsession with the platform. Whatever the left contributes will be 100% ignored. There were ways to get tangible concessions from Biden, but when Bernie endorsed without clear demands and deadlines, he gave away all of our leverage. Now we're being placated. And I don't think we're in a position of really any leverage whatsoever at this point. I mean, first of all, Bernie's numbers have dwindled from 2016, which is a really big hit for him. But I really don't think that Bernie or his folks have any leverage at this point. And Kyle's right. Not getting any like tangible concessions was definitely a bad move. Because now it's like, dude, the Biden campaign isn't even aiming for the young vote anymore. And why should they? He can't get them. Maybe he could. I mean, honestly, there's nothing he could do other than pick Bernie Sanders as vice president, for me to vote for him. So I can't even blame him for not going for the young vote. If Biden's gonna win, he won't do very well with the Latino vote, at least historically. Even this is something I think is gonna happen. I think the Latino vote will be a shock for Democrats this time around. I'm really curious to see how this pans out because I see it having a heavy drop off. remember, they lowered for Hillary Clinton than they did for Obama, I believe. And Latinos were protesting the Obama administration's massive deportations. You know, he was called the deporter in chief, and so a lot of those quote hecklers were people saying like, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" But they hate Joe Biden. Remember that guy who was protesting, and Biden was like, "Oh, just vote for Trump." And Hispanics, Latinos, they voted for Bernie Sanders, and so I really think that's going to be a big drop off for them. But the only place where Biden can really cash in at this point is the senior votes. There's really only hope to win. So, you know, there's just not really any leverage that Bernie supporters have, because they're just like, oh, we don't even need your votes. Like, get out of here. Which I understand why they're doing that. I mean, he's so incredibly terrible that there's virtually no salvageability with young voters. So why even try to pander them? Just go to the old people. If I was the Biden campaign, that's what I'd be doing too. It's a smart strategy. It's the best strategy. But yeah, there's pretty much no leverage, because to put yourself in the position on the task force, right? Put yourself in the position of like Stephanie Kelton on the economic task force, or AOC on the climate change one. What's to stop the conservatives on that task force, the Biden people, from just being like, no? What's to stop them? Nothing. Nothing. You have no leverage in this situation. The progressives have zero leverage in this situation. So the task forces are a complete joke. And all they have to do is be like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. And then it's like, what are you going to respond with? Well, we're not going to support you or what? I mean, it's like they don't really care anyways. And I think for good reason they don't care. But yeah, I think Kyle is right on this one. And I think that these task forces are quite the joke, to be quite frank with you. I really do. Now, you know, Cenk also sending out another tweet on Twitter saying, I think AOC is arguably more powerful than John Kerry right now. The question is how she wants to use that power. If she gets, quote, veal penned, then she got played. If she uses it as an opportunity to truly hold people accountable, then she can make a big difference. Up to her. Again, I don't see how AOC can truly hold anybody accountable. Now, interestingly enough, I think she might actually have some sway in this specific scenario. It seems like John Kerry is an AOC fan, especially of her GND. So I'm thinking that John Kerry might actually, you know, move on some of those things. But she is not in the position of power here. She's the one who's in the, bad position here. She's not in that position. Now, Kyle also sends out a tweet saying, very happy to announce I've assembled a task force on firefighting. We will be discussing whether or not it is indeed a good thing to, quote, fight fires and what should be done about it. We're bringing in strong voices from all across the should we fight fire spectrum. Now, this is basically a meme about the whole concept of task forces, which I understand. You know, to me, like, if I were let's say Bernie Sanders won, right? And the idea of having like a task force with Joe Biden, and his surrogates would be like laughable to me. It's like, what do you mean? Like, we have a platform, like Bernie Sanders has these positions. Like, what his positions are, and that's it, final. You know what I mean? So it's just like, we're not going to have this fake task force. Maybe he would have this fake task force, but it would be fake on purpose. It'd be kind of performative theater, as it is right now. But, just memeing that is what he's doing. He also says Biden is in his 70s and he has an extensive political record to comb through. Why is anybody pretending it's not obvious how he'll govern? It's almost like the left wants to be played or is naive behind comprehension. He also says this is why Bernie needed to use his leverage to get specific executive orders with a time frame for implementation. Everything else is window dressing. This is so obvious, but people don't want to admit it because then everything feels hopeless. So I think that a lot of people are downplaying how regressive the Joe Biden administration will actually be. In fact, it's actually reported that he's going to appoint Republicans into his administration. And honestly, we might see a more corporate administration than Trump under Joe Biden, because he's already floated, putting people like Jamie Dimon as like Treasury Secretary. Those are the kinds of people that are going to be in there, guys. I mean, these parties are funded by the same people, but those will be the people who are in there, and then Republicans potentially as well. Guys, this is the guy who said that Mitch McConnell and the Republicans will snap out of it after Trump is out, when they literally just obstructed the life out of Barack Obama under his 8 years as vice president. So I don't think people really understand this. This is a guy who voted for Antonin Scalia. He's a guy who said that Roe v. Wade went too far. Like all of this stuff, but nobody wants to talk about that. They're saying that he's progressive. I would say, and I don't even think this is controversial, I think that Richard Nixon's presidency was actually more progressive than Joe Biden's will be now. Richard Nixon, he's sort of the first president to really do climate change stuff, passing a lot of, I think he was the one who founded the EPA as well, championed the ERA and all this other stuff. He was kind of a liberal Republican, honestly. He's, I guess, one of the last sort of New Deal-ish politicians, one of the last ones. But anything he did then was more progressive than Joe Biden's doing now, right? I mean, it's way back in the 60s, 60s, 70s. So I think that's not even controversial. And to think about how sad that is and how we had New Deal presidents, back in the 40s and the 50s who were trying to get universal health care, and now we're not even able to do that. It feels like we've regressed so much over time. But I think that, yeah, it is true that people are not understanding how right-wing this will be. I'm not even sure why people are under the assumption that Joe Biden will not place conservative justices on any of the courts. I don't know why that is. This guy did a fundraiser for an ACA. He literally wrote legislation to repeal the ACA. And he did a fundraiser over there for like 200 plus K. This, by the way, this was a swing seat. The Republican only ended up winning by 5 points. The Democrats felt really betrayed. Like, this is the guy that was right before the 2018 midterms, by the way. So I'm not understanding why people are thinking that this is not going to happen. They seem to be just brain dead. I think that Trump derangement syndrome has kind of ruined politics and people's common sense and, ability to read stuff.